right, we are back, everybody. Brandon Aiyuk is in the news, and the Niners just beat the Panthers on Monday night. We're going to talk about it after this. Let's start with Brandon Aiyuk, since that's kind of in the news. Let's just get that topic out of the way. Kyle said he's been coaching for 20 years. He's never seen a situation like this happen where a player does something to get his contract voided and then just doesn't fight it. It's very strange. I've seen a lot of people talking about it, and they all kind of have the same. They all say the same thing. They've never seen something like this. They've never seen a player just willingly be like, "Yeah, I don't care. I don't want to be here. Void the contract. I'm done." It's really a bizarre thing, because since Brandon's been a Niner, I've always kind of looked at him like a quiet, humble, bring your lunch pail to work kind of guy. He's more than happy to block for his teammates. He's always kind of been the third, or at times even fourth fiddle. As far as like when you talk about the superstars on the offense, it was always Debo and George and then Christian. And he was always kind of just in the background. And it seemed like when his contract came due, he relished in the opportunity for him to be in the news. That's kind of the vibe I got. And he really ran with it. He admitted later on that he made that negotiation more difficult than it needed to be. And then he just had a terrible offseason and a terrible season. And then he ripped his knee to shreds. And it seems like we're never going to see him play another down for the 49ers. So it's a really disappointing, as an Aiyuk fan, it's a really disappointing turn of events. But at this point, it's kind of like good riddance, man. If you don't want to be here and we can get out of that contract, then it is what it is. What was your kind of initial reaction to hearing this news?
My initial reaction is just like, I didn't want to hear it, because it's like, besides the injuries, like, I feel like there's some good vibes surrounding the Niners right now, and I wanted to focus on that. I wanted to focus on some of these easy matchups we have coming up and how we can get to 10-4 and blah, blah, blah. So it just like was like an annoying thorn that I didn't want to address. It's obviously a huge bummer, because I think a healthy Aiyuk actually lifts this offense pretty considerably. If we had one more really reliable, great route runner, guy that you can trust and can block on the outside, and Spring Christian, like, man, I feel like this offense is a Brandon Aiyuk away from being truly elite. So it's a bummer, but kind of like what you said, it's like, I'm so over it. Seems to be a trend. I know wide receivers are thought of to be divas. We saw some of the diva with Debo. I think we're even seeing a little bit of it with Jawan, just a little bit with some of his contract stuff and fiasco. And now Aiyuk. And it's weird because wide receivers like Kyle's position, right? That's what he used to play. He gets these close bonds with his wide receivers, and then they seem to get an ego or whatever it might be. So it seems to be a trend. It's very annoying. Very annoying. I'm so glad we're out of the guarantees and out of the contract, and we can wipe our hands clean if that's what they end up doing. It seems like they're trying to like force him to still play or something. Like it's like this weird stalemate they're both in. So it's just a super annoying distraction that I just don't want going on. And like, I don't expect Aiyuk to ever play another down as a Niner. I really don't. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with building around Ricky and drafting a couple guys and seeing if Jordan Watkins still has something in the tank, maybe bringing a free agent. I'm fine with moving on. I feel like wide receivers grow on trees, and there's always the next young athletic guy coming out of college that we snag in the third round that can be a really productive receiver. So it's definitely a position we can replace. And I'm glad to be out of the contract. And I just honestly, I just kind of want to ignore it. I'm like, it's not going on. I can't see it. Like my blinders are on. Like I'm like, it's not happening. So,
It's funny. You mentioned drafting the wide receiver in the mid rounds, like, and I just immediately thought like Danny Gray, Jordan Watkins obviously hasn't done anything. Jacob Cowing, so it's hard. If they're going to draft one, they've probably got to get one in the first round. Kyle was talking about how much he loved Ted McMillan coming out of college. Um, I feel like you said earlier, you kind of summed up Brandon's last 2 years with the Niners was he's a thorn in the side. And you were saying, like, I just want to pretend it's not there. I want to ignore it. I think that's what the Niners want to do too. They just want him gone. They want the drama over. They want the contract gone. And they just want Brandon Aiyuk to be not in the building and not something that they have to deal with anymore. So yeah, I think the Niners probably agree with you on a lot of those things. What was your reaction, Steven?
Um, a lot of different thoughts, but I'll start with just like responding to what Chasen said. Admittedly, I'm just seeing like, the big news stuff. I'm not following like, rumors or digging deep in any of these stories, right? So I'd be curious to know like how it actually went down because I would imagine that the team gave him warnings to say like, if you don't do this, this is a step we will take or we can take, right? Um, it does feel almost like a little bit of a pissing match. Like I saw somebody speculating that this all started when Kyle got on him about wearing the wrong shorts back in the. Now that's pure speculation, right? But like
I think
it,
it predates that, but I think that was certainly a part of it.
so it feels like to a certain degree, I was almost like, oh my gosh, this makes sense now because I feel like early in the offseason, there was all this hope about Ayuk and look at he's running on the side fields and he's out there at practice and he's doing all these things, right? Even though he's not healthy yet, he's a part of the team and blah 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 and it was like, "Oh, yeah, 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 good vibes, right? Like we're headed in that direction." And then all of a sudden it just seemed to like go dark. Like there was just nothing about him. When's he coming back? Nobody knows. Well, maybe week 7. Oh, maybe week 10. Like, it just seems like there's been all this uncertainty and it's like, where is he? Like I don't ever see him like during the games or whatever. Like he just what is going on? And I'd be interested to know if it's the Niners wanting to get rid of him or it's him like throwing a fit, and like I'm not going to show up and be a part of this group if you guys are going to treat me this way. It's funny because getting rid of the guarantees doesn't get rid of the contract. The Niners still have all the control. In fact, they have more control now because he's got no guaranteed money. It seems to me like he made a big mistake here. He's banking on himself and maybe he does, assuming that Brandon Ayuk took these steps intentionally and he no longer wants to be a 49er, he's banking on himself, right? So if you make that assumption, it's like, man, you're really counting a lot on your past production because now you're basically going to be 2 years removed from football. And let's go back and look at the history of guys that are 2 years removed and see how well they do, especially at a position that requires athleticism and explosiveness. And that's part of his game. Not saying that he can't still go do well, but it's like, I don't think he's going to see the numbers that he saw with the Niner contract.
No
He's going to
way.
have to take a discount, hope that he can play better, and then maybe get one more big contract because he's obviously not getting any younger. But that's if you assume that he's like trying to, play the puppet master behind the strings to get out, right? If it's the Niners who had buyer's remorse immediately after, signing the contract and hey, he gave us a crack. Let's exploit it. Let's find a way to get out of this. Then man, they're playing chess not checkers. It's pretty ruthless. Poor guy, like he has been rehabbing.
Ruthless Niners.
But you can understand why, especially the narrative of trying to save money and getting younger and all those things. But I feel bad for Ayuk if that's the situation. If he was like making what he thought were his best efforts, or like, because you never know, right? Like, you don't know if it was some sort of misunderstanding. Maybe he talked to
Mm.
some coach and they're like, yeah, you can rehab with this guy, some assistant or some strength guy. And the team's like, no, hell no. Like you don't know, right? I'm totally just putting stuff out there. But you don't really know what went down to get to the point where he's not showing up. I assume that Ayuk knowingly made the decision. That's my assumption personally, but I don't know. So it's just really hard to say, like without knowing what the motivations are. It's really hard to judge the situation. but it sure makes for good drama, I guess.
It feels like there's a lot of regret from the 49ers the day they signed that contract with Ayuk, but it also feels like he was never happy. Like, there's
Mhm.
always a lot of contentious negotiations, and then the contract gets done, and everyone's like, oh, all right, that's in the past, and all is good now. We got the contract. Time to go out there and work. And it felt like immediately after the contract, that never happened. Brandon was still, like, mad about something, probably felt disrespected during the process and took it personally, even though Richard Sherman had said repeatedly publicly, like, don't take it personally. The Niners are tough to negotiate with, and Fred, Bosa, George, none of these guys took it personally, but Brandon did. I feel like Debo might have a little bit too. And then the whole Shorts thing was like him just kind of being a nuisance just to be a nuisance. And yeah, it feels like Brandon wanted out. I think the Niners saw the crack that you talked about, Steven, and they took it. And the reason why I don't think Brandon kind of like made a mistake and he's getting screwed over is because he's not fighting it.
Yeah.
He's more than happy to just say, yeah, like, void it. I don't care. I don't want to be here. And some people are kind of speculating that he wasn't showing up for some rehab, and the
Mhm.
team took that as there's some legal way for them to get out of his contract because of that. Some
Mhm.
people have talked about how, like, well, Bosa ripped his knee, and he kind of goes off and works out with his own guys and does his rehab. But Larry Kruger was talking about how, like, but Bosa, I think the issue here is, like, Bosa tells the 49ers what he's doing, who he's doing it with. And I remember Nick's last ACL, Kyle was talking about how he would see and talk to Nick every single day.
Yeah.
He was tracking his progress daily, not even weekly, but daily. And it feels like Brandon's just nowhere to be found. Even if he's out like grinding and working hard with whoever, there's just zero communication. So the 49ers just don't know what's going on. And I feel
Yeah.
like that was one of the major issues with Brandon was just, and we even heard this during the contract negotiations, like, any update on the Brandon Aiyuk contract? It's like, no, we haven't spoken to him in a month. It's like, dude, John, you and Brandon have the exact same agent. How is this possible? So, yeah, it feels like Ayuk is just, I don't even know why he signed the contract. And when Kyle ran up the stairs to save them, like, no, 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 don't trade him, get the contract done. Why didn't they slam the door in his face and say, no, dude, we're trading Brandon. This is over. Um, yeah,
Well,
Kyle must regret that.
he might, but to be clear, like I remember, not that I know better than Kyle Shanahan, but I really wanted him back. I was glad he did that. I thought, and I still think, that Brandon Ayuk at full health and full motivation is a special player that you want to keep around. But I don't think we're ever going to see that Brandon Ayuk again. I think Chasen was about to say something.
Actually, to piggyback off of that, because I got my train going on a different route. It's interesting because Kyle did that same thing with Trent Williams when he almost signed to the Chiefs, and it was like, hell yeah, because we still got some, I don't know, 2-3 years of like elite play out of Trent Williams. So I was like stoked then, and then now Kyle doing it, it's like, gosh, wish he wouldn't have done it. It's really interesting because I remember back in the day, I thought it was like the Niners had these trades ready to go. Like both sides had agreed to it, and like Brandon like vetoed the team. Like he didn't want to go to the Patriots or something like that. So it's like, why
There
are
was
you
a little bit of
declining?
that, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, why are you declining these trades? Then you sign the contract, and then now you want out again. It seems like he wants to just hand select. One thing that's
Seems like he
interesting,
doesn't know what he wants.
yeah. One thing that's interesting about Brandon is he seems like a guy that needs motivation. Like I remember, I think it was 2-3 years ago, back when Fred was talking about, yeah, I'm roughing up Brandon. I'm trying to get under his skin. I'm trying to bring the best out of him.
Hmm.
And then he's super motivated to get this contract, goes out, has a career year. It's like he seems like he's someone who needs that extra motivation. Like he's not a super intrinsically motivated guy, which obviously isn't a good sign, and honestly not someone that I super want on the Niners unless Fred's just going to kick his ass every training camp and kick him into gear. Um,
And it's obviously not on Fred to motivate him, right? Like,
yeah.
it's not Fred's job. It's not even Kyle's job. It's Brandon's job to want to earn the money that he's being paid and work. And he clearly, I think you're right, Jason. He lacks some, like, and I think Debo was kind of the same way. Wes Welker used to have to force Debo to run and get in
Mhm.
shape. It's like both those guys kind of lacked that discipline, which is crazy to say about a pro athlete, I know, but
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, who knows, like what his personal motivations are or whatever. But it just this whole situation is not going to help him, even if he is healthy or gets healthy, right? Like if he doesn't come back and play, teams aren't going to see that he can still do it. So then they're just going to be taking a flyer if the Niners do in fact cut him, right? Um, Also, he kind of increased his trade value because now a team could trade for him and not have to guarantee him money. Like they can, they it's not like they're being forced to take this on. I don't know what language is in the contract, obviously, but it seems like if he were trying to hold in, right, or hold out or whatever he's doing, like with no guaranteed money, I would think that the Niners could fine him if he's not doing exactly what they want him to do. But I once again I don't know how those work. It just seems like he weakened his position significantly, or he
Sure.
allowed the Niners to weaken his position. And I don't get it. Like I don't get why he would do that because
I think he
despite
wants out badly, and he's willing to lose tens of millions of dollars to do it. Which is, if you want out that badly, why did you sign the deal?
right, right.
And why are the Niners still like keeping him if they voided the guarantees? Are they trying to force him to come back? Is it a game of cat and mouse?
They
Well,
voided
I don't think they're forcing him to do it. They can't force him to do anything. Kyle has said like, I hope he comes back. I want him back. I expect him back. But they can't force him to do anything. And I think they are still paying him this season,
yeah,
and they do still own his rights in the future. So he's still
right.
on the team. But
Mm-hmm.
what they've voided is now like at the end of the year, if they just want to cut him, he'll have like a $29 million cap hit next year, and then he's done. Like he's off the books financially forever after that.
Yeah.
If that's the route they go, it'd be cool if they could trade him, even if it's for a single day 3 pick. Like whatever,
Right.
we'll take anything at that point. And
Yeah,
yeah, like what you've been talking about, Steven, like what's he gonna get if he's a free agent? What's he gonna get? Oh, like a 1 year, $10 or $15 million deal max. And
yeah.
then if he's not right, because like you said, he's basically 2 years removed from football. He hasn't had a good training camp in 2 years. He's coming off a knee injury, and he has like a 55 catch season for 650 yards or something like, and then he's going to parlay that into a 5 year, $120 million deal with a Hall of Fame quarterback throwing him the ball. Like, what exactly does he think is on the way? So
Yep.
yeah, I don't. And he's going to be 29. So I don't.
Like just you can even if Brandon Aiyuk gets to tell his side of the story and like explain everything away, the fact of the matter is what we have seen recently from Brandon Aiyuk is contentious contract negotiation. That seems to be an irrefutable,
Undeniable.
yeah, contentious contract negotiation that led to a setback in his preparation for the 2024 season. Then his numbers were bad when he was healthy and playing. Then he got injured, not his fault, but he got injured, and it was a bad injury, a bad knee injury.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's taking a long time to get back and still unhappy because that's pretty clear that he's been unhappy. He's away from the team. If he was happy and hunky dory, he'd be around. And his team voided the guarantees for next season. And there's probably more you could hold up, but that's like 7 points that I just made that are facts. None of those points help him in his future. Everything I just said there is a negative reflection on him. Even if he gets to like have an opportunity to explain, well, what really happened in the negotiations and what really happened with me not doing the rehab, it's still it
It's
just
all a
looks
bad look.
it looks bad. Yeah, it looks bad and I don't understand how his agent is still employed unless it really is Brandon just making all of these decisions and not telling his agent. And at some point, it'd be interesting to know if his agent left him. Like at some point, that would be pretty telling. But it's like your job is to keep your guy as employable and attractive as possible and to make as much money as possible.
That's
It's,
true, but an agent's job is also to carry out the wishes of his client. And if Brandon says, "Look, this is shitty, and this is how we have to go about it, it's going to look bad, but I want out of this contract so bad, I'm willing to sacrifice it. And if you're not okay with that, you can drop me. If you are okay with that, we can still work together, but this is what I'm doing." And if the
you're,
agent says, "That's moronic, but if that's what you want to do, then I'll stand by you."
you're right.
Yeah, who
You're
knows?
right. Yeah, you're right. He's still the boss. He still gets to call those shots. But man, I just don't understand how the agent thinks that he can salvage
Oh,
this.
I'm sure he's pissed. Even
Yeah.
if he's standing by Brandon, like he has to be like, "Dude, this is dumb." Jason, what time do you got to call? Like, do you got to get out?
I gotta go like within the next 5 minutes.
So,
Okay. I was
so,
gonna say because I think the Niners just played on Monday Night Football. Um,
do your Panthers take first.
yeah, tell me what you saw from Brock Purdy in the Panthers game.
Ooh, I don't want to start on Purdy. um, Man, I saw a defense growing up. That's what I saw. I saw a defense that's been playing better last 3 or 4 weeks. Definitely a defense that's faced some easier opponents. I won't deny that. Bryce Young and some of the fellas that they've played against haven't been elite talent, but I saw progress. I saw some young guys stepping up, making plays. I saw a secondary that played pretty well for most of the game. Um, yeah, I saw Upton Stout probably have his best game as a Niner. Jair Brown probably have his best game as a Niner. I saw just some young guys stepping up, playing well. Renardo played well outside of that one that he got burned bad on, which maybe it was the safety's fault or whatever. Who knows? But yeah, I was
I
pretty.
think that was on Renardo.
I think it was too. Yeah, I think it was too. So
That's the life of a DB. It's like you're like a designated hit or a relief pitcher. Like you can come in and strike out a couple guys, and it's like you're looking good, and then one guy hits one over the wall. It's like, dude, you suck. Get out of here. You just cost us the game.
yep,
And Renardo had a good game, but you get burned once, touchdown.
yep.
So
So
Jason, you said you didn't want to start with Brock.
yeah,
What's your level of concern with him? Are you concerned at all? Are you a
Brock's a
little bit concerned?
gunslinger. He's
Yeah.
gonna put up yards. He's gonna make some really good intermediate throws, maybe even hit some deep passes, and it's gonna be exciting and it's gonna lead to some explosive plays. But especially if he can't, drive the ball like he can when he's fully healthy. And if it's even a quarter of a second late in the DB, that's all it takes to close, especially in the last game. So I'm a little concerned. I still think Brock Purdy's a good quarterback. Like I don't want to dump him or anything like that. But
He's
it's
not the
like, man,
right-handed Tua, like Colin Cowherd said.
yeah, that was the dumbest thing I've ever seen. It's just a little Jekyll and Hyde. It's like, man, versus the Cardinals, I thought we were gonna have a top 5 offense, and versus the Panthers, I'm like, play the Jimmy G offense, give Christian and Brian the ball X many times, like take it out of Purdy's hands. Don't let him lose this game because it was a game we did not need to be aggressive to win. That's the thing, is like that's a game where you manage the clock, you run the ball, you take like safer passes, and you're going to beat the Panthers. Panthers aren't that good. I was never that worried about them. And I also never really felt like we were going to lose that game. Like I had full confidence we are going to win no matter what. Even when they scored that one touchdown, it's like, nah, we got this in control. You can just feel it. So I was happy to see the progress of the defense. Pretty dang bummed about how Purdy played. I don't know if Kyle needs to manage him more. I don't know if that's just, hey, second game back, he's going to throw some bad ones and let him figure it out. We're going to need him to be aggressive against some teams, maybe not the Panthers, but some teams we're going to need to put up 30, 40 points to beat them. So I don't know. I'm not super down on him, but he's been throwing a lot of picks over the last year and a half. And I don't know. We can't turn the ball over that much.
Doesn't your boy Chris Sims say, "Don't worry about picks"? That's what you shouldn't focus on that.
I think I heard him say that's what like the coach will say to encourage the quarterback. Hey, don't worry if you throw a pick or two. We need to be aggressive. Get out there
Oh,
and sling it, big
I mean,
guy.
I haven't listened to him now for like a year and a half or 2 years, like at all. But
Me neither.
I remember him talking about how like people need to get over counting interceptions for quarterbacks. It's just this
Really
day and age, you need to have a quarterback that'll rip it and go for it. If you don't, you're not going to be successful. So
interesting.
whether you want to put all your faith in what Chris Sims says is your decision, but I thought you were still a somewhat regular listener.
I haven't listened in a while either. I pretty much
Me
just
neither.
listen to Niner media guys at this point. I will occasionally throw up Pro Football Talk with Florio and Sims, but I not very often. I pretty much just listen to 49er media guys.
Well, I am not concerned at all. That was the reason that I wanted to ask you that question. If you're a little bit concerned, a lot concerned, whatever. I
A
feel
little.
like every player is going to have a bad game, especially a guy who's been out for how many weeks? 6 weeks, 7 weeks, whatever. Like, I think it's okay to expect a little bit of rust. I don't mind him taking shots like that against a team like the Panthers because I do think they were in control of the game. And I feel like if ever there's a game where you can play a little bit more loose or there's more room for error, it's against a team that you are controlling the game against, right? Like,
Hmm.
it didn't make them pay. Now, I think that it was just like his few mistakes that he made, because for the most part I think he played great, or good. I'll say good, not great. I think he played good. The Panthers just made him pay to the like nth degree, right?
Yeah.
Of the mistakes that he made. I think there's lots of games where quarterbacks make more mistakes than that. Like maybe let's say Brock made 4 mistakes the other night and 3 of them
Hmm.
resulted in interceptions. There
Hmm.
might be games where quarterbacks make 5 or 6 mistakes and only one results in an interception or something.
Yeah.
Like guys can get away with stuff, and I think that good on the Panthers for taking advantage, or their defense at least, for taking advantage of those opportunities. I want Brock to keep cutting it loose. I don't think he's reckless. I think that he might like might think he's better than he is sometimes, to a certain degree, and think he can make a throw that maybe he can't quite make. But I feel like we've also seen him make those throws, and I think that if he doesn't keep doing it, he's not gonna get it back if it is a little bit of rust or whatever, right? So he's got to keep attacking, because if you want to be a really good team and beat these good teams, you're gonna need him to be aggressive in some spots, and you're
Hmm.
gonna need those to hit. And they're not gonna hit if he's not practicing them and making some mistakes.
Yeah. All right. I've got a head. Sorry to cut you off, Ryan, before you give your take. I got a head,
I'll
but
listen to you, Ryan. I'll stick
yeah,
around.
close it out. Appreciate it. Go Niners.
All right, we'll see you.
See ya. Happy Thanksgiving. And he's gone. I was going to piggyback on what Chasen said because he said he's a gunslinger. And I agree, Brock is a gunslinger, but he just doesn't have a big gun. He
Yeah.
he does like he plays like Brett Favre with a fraction of Brett Favre's arm strength. And kind of what you were saying is like a quarterback can make 5 or 6 mistakes, and that could result in 0 or maybe even only 1 interception. But Brock's balls, they kind of float in the air, and I feel like they're really catchable. And so a DB can get their hands on his a little easier than they can maybe a quarterback with a bigger arm. So I think that was kind of an issue, at least on Monday night, because that the first one he threw it when the Niners were backed up, and the first one he threw to J.C. Horn, almost said Jeremy Horn again, the old UFC fighter, to J.C. Horn. That one, it was like Jennings was there. If he threw the ball with anticipation right as Jennings is cutting, it's probably a completion, and Jennings is tackled right there. But because it was late and because it floated, it allowed JC to catch up and jump it and pick it off. And then the one to Ricky in the end zone, I thought I've seen Brock make really good throws on the run. That one, when he was scrambling and kind of pulled up and threw it, I thought, oh, he sees something. But he just left that ball way short. It needed to be almost like a toe tap for Ricky in the back of the end zone. And the DB caught it like on the goal line. So that was just a really bad throw. He just missed on that one. And then the other one, the third one, J.C. Horn's second pick. I've seen some people kind of break that one down. That one, it seems like a lot of people are just giving credit to the D coordinator and to Horn, because they played a coverage there that was pretty unique, and Horn came flying across the field, like leaving some zone coverage way on the other side, and just snagged that thing. And I've seen people kind of say, like, I wouldn't expect very many quarterbacks to see that one coming. So it looks bad because it was the third one, but the defensive coordinator for the call and Horn for the play deserve more credit for that. So I'm not super concerned with Brock. It does suck that next week is going to be a rainy, cloudy, cold, windy Browns game, and we know Brock doesn't do well in the weather. So I can just already see another game where Brock doesn't, complete 70% of his passes and throw 3 touchdowns and not turn the ball over. I could see him struggling again, and it's just going to compound on, like, man, he was bad last week. He was bad again in Cleveland, especially if the Niners lose to Cleveland. I think it's going to be a tough game Sunday. So hopefully he can kind of put those cold weather, bad game Brock accusations to rest. But we'll see.
Well, at least he'll be super motivated. I mean, he should always be motivated, but
Yeah.
coming off a game where he's going to hear people talking all week about, is Brock really that guy? Should the Niners go with Mac Jones? Well, like, that's gonna
Hopefully that doesn't make him start to press.
Yeah, I don't think he's gonna press in the rain. I feel like he's smart. He's smart enough to know I have limitations. He might not always listen to them, but if they're going into the game knowing it's going to be crappy weather, and all week they're game planning for that, and Kyle's like, Brock, this is check down week. This is your week to be Derek Carr. Like, you've got McCaffrey out there, you've got Juice out there, you've got Kittle out there. Like, just take what the defense can give you, because it's a bad combo of bad weather and a really good defense. So I feel like you can't go into this game thinking, man, I just got to go out there and start slinging it around. It's like, no, you know better. You're smarter than that. And it's I mean, at least I'd like to think that, right? So
He just has to not turn the ball over and win. You don't even have to throw a touchdown pass.
I bet you that we'll see him use his legs more this week. It's going to be his third week back. It seems like he had some chances in the last game.
Running for his life away from Myles Garrett, yeah.
Well, no, I bet you there's more design stuff. That's what I'm saying. I bet you they make him get more mobile, where it's going to be like an easy completion or tuck it and run. I think Kyle's going to set the game plan up to try to make it easier on him to do that, thinking, hey, Brock's a few weeks back, the toe's doing okay. He can move around a little bit more. I'm not saying he's going to start running like the option offense or anything like that, but I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised if there's, a few more bootlegs or, just play design to try to put him in a really advantageous, easy situation instead of like sit in the pocket, pick the defense apart. I mean, it just doesn't make sense against a good defense in bad weather to have that game plan.
Yeah. Before we get too much into the Browns, I'll kind of wrap up the Panthers. I was super, super unimpressed with the Panthers head coach, Dave Canales. I thought he was just awful. Bad play caller. Rico Dowdle was running all over the Niners. They did not give him the ball. Throwing the ball way too much, even though Bryce Young is not good. That 2-point attempt where they gained 1 yard and decided, let's go shotgun and throw the ball here instead of just kicking the extra point or running the ball against a weak 49ers front. So super unimpressed. That's why I didn't really want to rain on Chasen's parade about the Niners defense, because the Panthers offense is bad in my opinion, but the defense did what they're supposed to, and Jair had a nice game.
I agree, but I also wonder if there's something else going on where this is 2 weeks in a row where we've seen teams throw way more than they run. And this game was obviously closer in terms of score than the Cardinals game, right? And it just makes me wonder, like, are the Niners giving looks to bait teams into throwing more? Are they just loading up the box so they're like, well, we got to run a pass play here? Or, I mean, what is it? Because when I look at the defense for the Niners, I would think I could run on these guys all day.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
if
you know
any,
who won't fall for that is the Bears.
hmm,
Ben Johnson is
yeah,
like Shanahan. He wants to run the hell. He'll run the ball 35, 40 times if he can. So
yeah,
he's, to me, it's, to answer your question, it's bad offensive game planning. It's not, I don't think the Niners are tricking anybody into giving them a certain look to bait. I think these offensive coordinators are just pass happy. And Ben Johnson will run the ball, and it'll be up to the Niners to stop it.
yeah. I mean, I know every coach in the NFL is smarter about football than us by like miles and miles, and so it's like if we
Yeah.
can recognize it, how can they not? Especially when it's like their livelihood and their job on the line. So that's why I'd like to think, as a Niners fan, that the Niners are doing something to Jedi mind trick these teams into playing into their strength, because I feel like the strength of their defense right now is their secondary.
Well, so Jair Brown had an interview after the game, and he was talking about how the week before against the Cardinals, they were running a lot of too high safety, which is like a don't let the big play beat you, keep everything in front of you. And typically, if you have too high safety, if Kyle Shanahan got that, he would love that because that's you run, 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 and you force those safeties to come down so you can throw over the top. And the Cardinals didn't do that. Jacoby threw the ball 57 times against
Mm-hmm.
too high. I mean, I'm sure they weren't too high safety every time, but a majority of too high safety game. And then Jair Brown was saying how this week they kind of gave the too high look, but then he would come up and Mustafa would drop to a single high, which is like that's how you defend the run because the Panthers have a couple good running backs. They've been running the ball well, but they just kept throwing the ball, and it's just like so. I don't know that these teams are being Jedi mind tricked. I feel like they're just not. I don't feel like the Cardinals offensive coordinator, whoever that is, or Dave Canales for the Panthers. I just don't think they're very good.
You think they're just stubbornly going into this is what we run, this is
This
what
is
we
what we
do,
run, and
it's
you
our
know,
strength, and we're going to impose our will.
yeah. Which is
Hmm.
if you're the Panthers, wouldn't that mean running the ball? It's almost like he's trying to prove like, no, Bryce Young is our guy and he's good, and it was totally worth drafting this wide receiver in the top 10 or something. It kind of had those vibes. Because if it was
Hmm.
just an impose your will game, that would be a run the ball game, and they didn't do that.
Well, no, I
I don't know
mean,
what to make of that.
impose your it. When I say impose your will, like you do what you do well, regardless of what they do in
No,
response. Like,
I know what you mean, but so like if you're the Chiefs, you're imposing your will, like Pat's gonna
right.
throw all over you. But for the Panthers,
Frank Gore's still running the ball against 8 and 9 man boxes because
yeah,
they're
exactly.
imposing their will.
For
Yeah.
the Panthers though, if you're gonna impose your will as the Carolina Panthers of 2025, that is hand the ball to Rico Dowdle 25 times and
Mhm.
Chuba Hubbard or 10 to 15 times. So and I they just didn't do that. So um
I don't know. Because I know that they had some good runs, but I also feel like the Niners stopped their
Chuba
run
was
a few
averaging
times.
over 6 yards a carry.
Was he?
Not
Okay.
Chuba, Dowdle.
Against the Niners or on the
Against the
season?
Niners. He only
Okay.
carried the ball like he got 0 carries in the fourth quarter, maybe a couple in the third quarter. He only had like 6 or 7 carries for the whole game.
Yeah. I'm not trying to defend this coaching staff a whole lot here. I'm just saying it doesn't it, you know, it didn't feel to me like the few times that the Panthers ran the ball that the Niners couldn't stop it. It just felt like they broke a few. Like I remember having some plays where I thought, "Damn, that's poor tackling." Like there was a long run that they hit on where Curtis Robinson should have had him in the backfield. And it was like
Yeah, poor
that that's
Robinson, not his best game.
that's a loss, if like the play was dialed up correctly to turn that into a loss, and then poor tackling. And it wasn't just him, he was just the first man to miss. But, poor tackling led to what looked like a good run. It's like, well, is that really that good of a run? Or is it just bad tackling by the Niners?
And result is the result.
No, I know.
What sucks too is Sam Okawano has a high ankle sprain. He's going to miss a couple weeks. Shanahan said that today. So the edge rushing position gets even thinner. Um, it was nice to see Sky Moore kind of cracked another run in the kickoff.
Mhm.
He got them back, I think, to almost a 50 on one. And Matt Gay, you would have never known that Eddie Pinheiro wasn't out there. So
Yeah, yeah.
special
No,
teams still playing well.
it felt like it was a game they should have won, and just showing up, they should have won like they did, and they barely did more than show up. like like
Yeah, I was telling Sam like this should be 17-3 right now, and
yeah.
it was like the second quarter, but Brock kept throwing the ball to the wrong
I
team.
do feel like the defense played with more energy than the offense. Like they seemed like they were, you know, uh I don't know, more locked in. I don't know how you say, like, it like, to Chasen's point about them growing up, it might be because the Panthers offense is bad, but it looked like they were fired up, they were flying around. The offense looked like they were just kind of like, all right, let's, do what we do. Oh crap, another pick. All right, well we'll get them next time,
I wonder if Brock throwing the ball to the wrong team was kind of zapping the energy of the
It very
offense.
well could have. It very well could have, yeah. But that's what it felt like to me. It didn't feel like the Niners offense ever like really got humming, or that they were, like, I don't know if it was Shanahan, I don't know if it was because, like, maybe he didn't have his best night as a play caller. Maybe it was Brock's interceptions like you said. Maybe something else was off. It wasn't like they were bad, because it did. I agree with Chasen that I never really felt like the game was in doubt. Like, just watching them play
No,
is like,
not for 1 minute.
yeah, Niners are the better team, and they're gonna figure this one out. And so that's why I feel like it was almost like they took their foot off the gas on offense. Like they knew, we're better, we got this. That's what it felt like. Now that could just be me projecting, but that's how I felt.
Yeah, no, it didn't feel like there was like they came into the game thinking we're the better team, we're gonna win, and they kind of played like it without like we're gonna go earn it. Like they didn't like kick their ass and they're up 21-0 at halftime and then take their foot off the gas in the second half. They kind of came out. I mean, that first drive was good. They went right down the field,
Yeah,
but then all of a sudden Brock's turning the ball over and they were still kind of like, Jair Brown will bail us out or something, which he did.
they're lucky that he did, because that game could have been a lot closer. And I feel like you kind of proved my point right there, because yeah, they came out on the opening drive and went right down the field, and I wonder if that almost like was a bad thing. Like they got in their minds like, oh, we
This is gonna
got
be so
this.
easy.
Yeah. But I mean, I know that the guys aren't thinking that in the moment. It's like the subconscious thing, right? Like I don't question any of the players' desire or anything. That's not what I'm trying to say. It's more just that whole human nature subconscious thing where, oh yeah, that worked. All right, we're good. We just got to keep doing what we're supposed to do, and it'll all work out. And that's what it felt like. It didn't feel like, man, I've got to give it my everything on every play to make this happen.
Yeah, I mean, there's a difference when you're playing the Rams or something versus
Yeah.
the Panthers. Like we know that the Rams, we make a couple mistakes and they could beat us by 20 points, like they did a couple weeks ago. Whereas the Panthers, it's like, yeah, we could throw 3 picks, we'll be all right.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
just you don't have that like edge, and it's yeah, maybe that's what they were like. They just kind of lacking an edge. Like they came into the game knowing we don't have to be our best. We can kind of sleepwalk through this game and win. And
But
to
the
their credit, they were right.
but the defense felt more like they had an edge to me, just the way they were playing. Like I,
Yeah,
I felt like I
yeah,
felt like they were getting after it.
and thank God they were, because that might have been the trappiest of trap game losses right there if the Niners had lost.
So I was, as I told you guys last week, kind of worried about the Panthers game. I obviously should not have been. I was wrong. But I was I was kind of worried about them just because of their record, and I thought, ooh, this is kind of an up and coming team. I haven't watched them at all, but I know from having McMillan on my fantasy team that he's had a pretty dang good year, and I've been hearing good things about Bryce Young's development and all this stuff, right? So
He threw for well over 400 yards the week before.
right. So I'm thinking, and I don't think the Falcons are a bad team. I don't think they're a playoff team, but I don't think they're like in the cellar of the NFL either.
They're close.
Um, they might be closer to the cellar than the attic, yes, but I still, I don't think they're there. But anyways, point is, they looked worse than I expected them to be based on their record and based on what I'd been hearing, the hype or whatever you want to call it. So now I am a little worried about the Browns because I do think the Browns have a legit defense, and I do think that the Niners have proven to have a tough time in the weather. But I know we'll talk about the Browns later. I'm just saying I feel like before last week I felt more confident about the Browns game, than the Panthers game. And now just seeing what I saw, I was like, oh man, I'm a little nervous now about next week.
I think it's going to be a tough game versus the Browns. No doubt. That defense in that weather, if it was a home game, I'd probably feel a little different. Probably feel a lot different, honestly. But because it's there and because it's, late November, yeah, I think that's going to be a tough one.
What makes me feel the best is their
Sanders?
young rookie quarterback that will hopefully, give the Niners some opportunities as well. So I do think it's going to be a defensive game. I mean, duh, right? Like the easiest prediction ever with the weather, right? So I'm not saying anything groundbreaking here, but yeah.
Yeah, I think Sanders could. I don't know if he's going to, think like, oh, my dad played for the Niners. They're a historic team. This is a big spot. I'm going to go out there and make some big plays and just start chucking the ball all over the place and throwing the ball to the wrong team.
You're saying he could win it for the Niners?
Yeah, I think he could. All right. We'll try and I do want to talk about the Browns game a little bit, so maybe
Yeah.
we'll try and do that on Saturday.
Sounds good. All right.
All right, I'll see you.
See you tomorrow. Bye.
Yep, see you.